Welcome to the Elvis Presley channel. Love is something we all cherish in life, and at a point almost everyone would desire a significant other. Most people think it's hard to find that special person, but it seems easier sometimes to find the right woman than to be the right man. Dated 7 years, married but divorced after 4 years, Elvis Presley's marriage with Priscilla ended, or so it seems, leaving fans anxious to know the reason and how their initial happiness went sour. Why was Elvis Presley's marriage with Priscilla destined to fail? Make sure to watch the video until the end, and if you are new here, don't forget to join our wonderful community by subscribing to the channel. The hard truth about Elvis Presley's marriage with Priscilla. It is no longer news that the duo remained in love even after divorce, but it's not clear why they did what they did at each stage of this unusual historic bond. Once upon a time, a king was born to rule with a rare musical talent. Although without a physical palace, this king ruled his subjects with highly animated interpretations of melodies and sexually stimulating musical talent that attracted the love and passionate admiration of millions of fans. But this king would need a queen to take care of the kingdom. Did he find one? Yes, amidst joy and fulfillment, until something happened and everyone starts asking why and how. It is not all things that glitter is gold, so they say. Love and marriage relationships may just be one of those things that glitter in life, but soon disappear, leaving its victim empty, disheartened and regretful. You may have heard about Elvis Presley's epic marriage with Priscilla and how it ended, if it did, between the two. The highs and the lows that shrouded the marriage made a lot of persons to question whether it was originally meant to be that way, or are there things that played out in what has been described as an uncommon union that we do not know. Elvis Presley, the famous American rock star, was a man who was loved by all because of the kind of joy he offered to society at his time. He did not just create that unique pattern of singing and dancing that won him the throne as the king of rock and roll. He also had a life outside his career that involved another beautiful soul, Priscilla Ann Beaulieu. Their much publicized union, parental journey, and other things that followed may not be forgotten in a hurry until the right answer is provided. The brief or otherwise of the union has left many guessing how it all started. Elvis Presley, your favourite singer and actor, regarded as a significant cultural icon of the 20th century, first met Priscilla in November 1959, somewhere in Germany, when he turned 24. Then Priscilla was just 14 years old. At the time, Elvis was posted to Germany as part of his stint in the US Army. Fate also took Priscilla to Germany the same year because her father was part of the Air Force men. It was said that while she was in transit with her younger sibling, a particular night, someone from the Air Force had walked up to her and encouraged her to join him and his wife if she was willing to meet Elvis. With approval from her father, who communicated to the Air Force commanding officer in charge for a pass, Priscilla proceeded to meet Elvis. A lovely teen in 9th grade at the time, Priscilla appeared in a navy and white seaman dress as she visited Elvis at his temporal platform somewhere in Bad Neueheim. Did Priscilla instantly capture his attention? He was reported to have played many of his tracks, especially Are You Lonesome Tonight, as part of her reception. The reason for the instant affection may not be readily known, but an indication suggests that she reminded him of his late mother. Elvis was said to have confided in his pal Rex Mansfield thereafter that Priscilla was young enough that he can train her any way he wanted. Before she left that day, Elvis ensured that he booked another date with her, where he was reported to have first planted a kiss on her lips. Their feeling was mutual, so there would be another. After her 4th visit to Elvis, her father wanted to see him. It was in a meeting with her parents that Elvis was quoted to have said, "Well, sir, I happen to be very fond of her. She's a lot more mature than her age. I enjoy her company," he said, responding to her father's inquiry. The two continued to meet with no restriction from her parents, even though Elvis and Priscilla kept sealed lips about their meetings because they often met secretly. Interestingly, she comes to his room regularly, but the relationship remained platonic, and when Elvis was ready to leave after the mission, Priscilla was said to have informed him that she was prepared for sexual intercourse, but Elvis refused, saying, "Some day we will, Priscilla, but not now. You're just too young." The expected separation came as Elvis left Germany in 1960. The passion would continue, but this time through letters in pink envelopes, so Elvis will identify her letter among thousands of fans. 2 years after, Elvis begged her parents to allow her to visit him in Los Angeles. The 2-week stay was also based on chaste and strict rules, as such was convincing to her parents, and the romance will continue, even as he suggested for her to complete high school in Tennessee with a promise of marrying her. Soon Priscilla found herself at the Immaculate Conception High School in Tennessee and had to settle at his Graceland home in Memphis. The two lived unconventionally as a couple for years, with Priscilla absorbing all the rumours and Elvis's boisterous lifestyle, with increasing gossip of affairs with Hollywood talents and being badgered by the media about this gossiped relationship, especially with actress Nancy Sinatra. Elvis talked about it as being brief. Priscilla felt hurt at the time and promised never to see him again, but that would not be because Elvis was in control. Elvis's manager, Colonel Tom Parker, was among those afraid of the impact the relationship with Priscilla is having on his career, but Elvis took the bold steps by proposing to her in 1966 within the Christmas period, and by May 1st, 1967 they wedded in Las Vegas and were said to have had sexual intimacy for the first time on their wedding night. Soon Priscilla took in and had their only daughter, Lisa Marie Presley, on the 1st of February 1968, around 9 months after their wedding. But before this time, a lot of this happened. On how she was able to stay uniquely with him, Priscilla had explained how she came prepared to take her position as his wife. "I was always ready to greet him at the door and pamper him. I loved taking care of Elvis very much. I loved feeding him," she once explained. The union was such fun that they created jargon for communication so that only the two understood when they communicated in public. It was said that 7 months into her pregnancy, Elvis traumatized her when he requested temporal separation for an unspecified period. "Scylla, I have to have time to think. Things just aren't going right. It'll be good for the two of us to take a little time off, like a trial separation, be apart from one another for a while," were his words. The words were even more painful when she learned that she did nothing wrong. It was purely about he going through some things. It was obvious at the time that his career was in decline, with 2 out of 8 Presley singles between January 67 and May 1968 only able to make the top 40, and none was more than number 28. What was the issue, and why was separation the only solution? Priscilla said she did not believe that he intended to leave her because it wasn't his style, but that she later realized he had questions about how a baby would disturb his life, including his teeming fans, whom she said may not be prepared yet to see him as a father and someone's husband. Would they still be loyal to him? Well, it took her time to respond, but she finally did by saying, "You've got it, just tell me when to leave." During the production time of Live a Little, Love a Little in 1968, Elvis left and would not return for a long period, leaving behind his wife who had given birth to his child. They were together for a while before the separation in 1972. A story was told of how Elvis secretly wept on their wedding day before taking his vows. Amidst the glamour and all the fantastic wistfulness that shrouded the wedding, Elvis supposedly oozed before saying "I do," for a reason that was later discovered to be the fact that he was hesitant about getting hooked. Alberta Holman, who was Elvis's housekeeper, was also reported to have seen him crying before the wedding ceremony. Elvis was quoted to have said, "I don't have a choice," when Priscilla asked to know the reason he was going into family life in such an unhappy mood, raising her curiosity more. And so, within the temporal separation, she was distressed all over and hunted by the media with the buzz around that Elvis had cried because he didn't want to get married at the time he did. It became even more painful for her knowing that she was not craving to be proposed to by Elvis in the first place. At some point Priscilla started a brief romance with her dancing instructor, an affair she admitted regretting because she needed more than she got from her relationship with Elvis. How else can one describe a situation where Priscilla and her daughter were abandoned at their Graceland home, while Elvis's career and popularity grew rapidly amidst gossiping all around the media of Elvis's relationships with co-stars and notable women that Priscilla once said made her stop reading the newspaper? Some of the reports ignorantly and boldly insinuated that Priscilla was pregnant, which was why Elvis married her. That was how vicious the gossip was. So it did not come as a surprise when the two decided to officially divorce in 1973, 4 years before his unfortunate demise. Even though the divorce outlook itself appears more like a gentleman's agreement between the two, as they were said to have held each other's hand in hand as they left the court on completion of the divorce, and had remained fruitfully connected thereafter, and sharing the responsibility of their daughter. At this time Elvis's health was also in serious decay, with drug dependency, was reported to have overdosed twice within the year on barbiturates, leading to 3 days in a coma in one of the incidents. The union may have ended, but the love did not, as both remained mutually exclusive in supporting each other. Elvis did not take for granted the natural love that Priscilla continued to shower on him, as he was said to have contributed immensely to her career, including assisting in setting up her first store in 1973. From all indications it was not easy for Priscilla to live, love, and be a spouse to King Elvis. They were more useful to each other as friends, rather. A lot of people theorized that they were pressured to get into marriage, but Priscilla did not think so. Talking about how they started, and the rough journey she never envisaged with Elvis, first she said, "Many people thought our wedding was sudden. Elvis and I had been talking about it in stages," suggesting that the day he proposed to her was not the first time she had heard it, nor was there any atom of haste. Although they were contented and perfect dating and staying together for about 7 years before their wedding, she observed that such cohabitation wasn't nice at the time, as such could only be the source of pressure, if there is any. It does appear that while Elvis stayed away most times after their marriage, he may also have missed some useful dates and events because of the marriage. It was more of a dilemma between exploring the basic career lifestyle and staying put for the love of his life. It became normal for Elvis to return from a trip after many weeks away and would leave again. It was not happy times for both, especially Priscilla, who got herself adjusted to it. "I wanted to go along. It was difficult for me to understand why I couldn't. Sure, I was disappointed, but I got over it," she had said, adding that she was living one day at a time and hoped that things aren't always going to be like that. She had to live with that decision because she was hoping that things would get better. Perhaps it's going to work itself out, she kept thinking. She did not also have a choice, because thinking that she is always going to be alone sends a chill down her spine. It was like the more Elvis's popularity, the more women to contend with, the growing number of female flattery that Elvis was receiving kept Priscilla perpetually nervous that she would want to accompany him everywhere he goes. "I would even go with him to get his teeth cleaned," she said, because it seemed to her like all women in the world were after him. Even though Priscilla kept an eye on the female attractions that were on Elvis, there was nothing she could do. It did not take time before she realized that marrying Elvis, the way she had planned, is the hardest thing for any woman to do, because he will never truly be your own man. You'd be sharing him with legions of women who nearly worshipped him. That was why their marriage suffered after the initial fanfare, started with emotional pain and too many marital difficulties. Priscilla saw herself as Elvis's own living doll to fashion as he pleased, as she explained how she lost her own identity living with him. He would order her to wear makeup and dress the way he wanted, including one-on-one lectures on how to behave, quite an influence on her personality. Elvis died on the 16th of August 1977 at the age of 42 from heart disease. After his death, their daughter, Lisa Marie, became the sole heir of his estate, and in 1982 Priscilla declared their Graceland home a memorial museum for the late musical icon, and the venue was open to visitors. Already in control of Elvis Presley Enterprises, she had continued to preserve his legacy all the years, like approving the fresh Elvis biopic for 2022. Neither person's love life was easy in this story, but what was the story like for Ann-Margret? Did Ann-Margret love Elvis Presley more than her husband? Find out from this video.